What's up, everybody? As you can see behind me, we got the patch notes for Alpha Wave 2 up, and there's kind of already been a flood of videos about the patch notes, so it's kind of where the name Daylight Dollar Short comes into play. A little late getting this video out, but basically I just want to cover a few things and not really go in depth line by line, so I'm just going to pick out a few key points and go over my thoughts on a couple of them, since there is so much out there already. One thing before getting into it, I do want to say I am super pumped. I've read through these already, and there's a few huge changes that I think are going to be great for the second wave, but just kind of to tamper expectations, not to be a negative Nancy, but something that's been brought up before is the more you add into a build, the more chance there is to break stuff. Just want to kind of set that expectation. We're still in the alpha. A lot of these changes are going to be great, but still expect bugs, possibly new bugs, possibly just as many as Wave 1. We're not sure what we're going to get till we get cracking on Wave 2, so just kind of wanted to set that expectation up front. And yeah, let's get into it. The first big thing I want to get into is the hero binding. One of the issues I ran into trying to farm was I had so many food champions, it was filling up my roster. And as you can see through this little demo, you'll be able to just select heroes, and you'll be able to feed them and get spirits and energy for them. So that's already a huge time saver. Instead of having to go in and level up heroes and rank up heroes to feed them, now you can just go in, get the spirits, and clear that space. Huge time saver. Awesome, awesome update. Pumped they got it in for the second wave, and can't wait to use it, yeah. This just breaks it down: commons 1 star, uncommons 2 star, rare 3, and so on. You're probably not going to be using your legendaries as a 5-star spirit, but the option's there if you want to get crazy. And just the big warning, unbinding cannot be undone, so don't play around. If there's someone you don't want to feed, don't even get close to them, because you're not getting them back if you do unbind them. For the Cavern of Chaos rebalance, the one thing I really want to touch on is enemy heroes have been given new powers, which I think is just changes in stats, and will have increased resistance and accuracy after floor 90. So one of the things in Wave 1 that I didn't really pick up on, but makes sense looking back on it, is they stated that the enemy waves didn't have too much resistance and accuracy, which makes sense because looking at some of the builds that I had on my heroes, I was still using some uncommon and rare gear and still getting by. It makes a lot of sense that the gear was working with these stats so low, so we'll be getting a new taste of some improved enemy waves in the second wave of the alpha. And the other big point here is the economy balances. They doubled the Ascension Alchemy stones across all stages, which will be great. It was real hard to ascend heroes. I think it'll still be a little difficult to ascend Eternals if you don't have good RNG, but at least there's double the Ascension stones when you do get the right RNG. Increased 2-star spirit drop rates at higher stages. I didn't really have an issue with 2 stars. I had so many heroes I was trying to feed anyways, but I guess that's good if you did have issues with that. This note is a little weird. It says stages 120 now grant any armor slot with the higher quality at higher stages. I'm not sure if they just mean stage 120 or if they mean the 10s, so 120, 130, 140, 150, because that was something during Wave 1 that was fed back, was that you weren't able to farm the gear from those stages and get higher quality gear. So hopefully it's all the 10s, but from what this says, at least 120 will be. I'm not really sure what this note means. Rebalanced ability upgrades for better reward distribution. I don't know if by ability upgrades they mean the scrolls, so maybe they change the way you get rewarded with scrolls. But yeah, not entirely sure on that bullet point. And I guess the last thing to call out is they've increased the Fafnir's powers for 150 and 151, so it will be a bigger challenge this wave. So these are 2 huge changes. No, I said I wasn't going to go into everything, and going into a lot of them here, but I did play a lot of mobile. I was working a lot during the first wave, and That scroll bar was driving me crazy. The amount of times I wanted to rank someone up to 20 or 30 and ended up on level 21 or 22. And then with the fat fingers, it was extremely difficult to try and get it back to just level 20 to upgrade to rank 2. So really looking forward to that change. And also the realm of your hero roster. They shared a little cheat sheet in the Discord, and I saved it onto my phone so I could pull it up and use the cheat sheet. But having it in-game will be a huge help. They did update the camera angles. They're now POV, top, and act. We do have samples of each new camera angle. I'll let those play at the end, so if you want to see those, skip to the end or stick around, and I'll just let them play through at the end. There's another huge one. I was really excited to try out the info button in Wave 1, but it wasn't put in for the alpha. And right now it's still just a basic workup version that they got put in for this wave. So you'll be able to see what buffs and debuffs are on your heroes and the enemy team clearly. I'm still really looking forward to the full version. They said you're going to be able to see things like damage stats and healing stats in the middle of the battle. So that's something I'm still really looking forward to, but even this helps a ton because it was tough seeing what buffs and debuffs were on the heroes. Not a lot of detail here. They talk about fixing over 100 bugs, which boots and salutes to the team. That's incredible for such a short amount of time in between alpha waves. They do call out that they fixed bugs related to combat freezes, which should be huge. I love Timedale. Couldn't really use them due to the freezing in combat. Disables and locks on Fafnir and Golden Guardian, and you were able to debuff them in ways that you weren't supposed to be able to, so that's part of what made them easier in Wave 1, so that'll add to the challenge in Wave 2. And then they just say many critical performance issues have been addressed, making Wave 2 experience more stable and reliable experience. That should be great. I didn't have a ton of stability issues, but I did definitely get some of the memory leaking, particularly from, like I said, Heimdall. I think it was Retaliate was causing a lot of issues, and for the most part that's all I really had to deal with. Next, they just list out some heroes that they've rebalanced or updated. So these aren't bug fixes on this list, this is just rebalances, and the asterisks are the heroes that got a little more of a change than the others. They don't list the changes, and it also says right here the list is not exhaustive. So basically, these heroes were definitely changed, but you're going to have to check out other heroes in-game to see who all has been changed, because there might be more not listed. And I'll just kind of slowly scroll through. I'm not going to read all the names. There's 67 heroes in the alpha, and I don't know, probably close to 30 on that list, so you're looking at half the heroes have been rebalanced in some way. Here they kind of drill down into a few of the bug fixes that they do want to call out. One of the big ones was many passives were not working as intended, have been updated, and a big one that a lot of people didn't even notice, myself included. I wasn't counting turns. But the cooldown bonuses from ability upgrades would not apply to heroes. So if you had a 4-turn cooldown that scrolled down to a 3-turn cooldown, it just stayed at 4 turns. I totally missed that, but it did feel like abilities were taking a while to get back to them, so again, another thing that makes total sense in hindsight. Another big one was, I mean, they're all pretty big ones, but imprint abilities would not show on heroes' abilities. So imprints weren't working, looks like they'll be in for Wave 2. So that's exciting to actually play around with the imprint system more and have that working to test out. And more specific for battle and rewards, kind of mentions again, imprints were not working on heroes unless they were awakened, so another imprint fix. Already kind of talked about Fafnir and Golden Guardian getting fixed. Retaliate and counterattack, we already talked about. The battle freezes, that was the big one for me. Infinite Musashi counterattacks, I was kind of lucky, I wasn't running into that too much, but I do know that definitely frustrated quite a few players, so that should be fixed. Isis Horus, as far as I know, it just kind of caused battles to stall out. Not annoying in a crushing your team way, but annoying in stalling out your gameplay. Glad to see that fixed. Hercules could never die. There were, luckily, ways to kill him, but it was quite difficult, especially in the later stages, so good to see that that was a bug that was worked on. I didn't realize this was the issue with Acid. Acid debuff could reduce your stats instead of the enemy. I thought it was when Acid was put on you, it decreased your stats and not just your armor, but apparently it was reducing your stats when you put it on the enemy, so that's good to know, and good to know that it was fixed. The famous pink VFX box has been fixed. Another big thing that was called out where a lot of the 2-stars couldn't be completed, so those 2-star challenges should be able to be completed now. Yeah, I'll kind of leave this up for a second so you can pause or read through. Last thing down here is just general fixes, improved memory performance and game stability. So hopefully those memory leaks aren't quite as bad in Wave 2. That's it for this update. Like it says, make sure to join Discord if you're not already. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you probably are in the Discord, but always worth shouting it out. That's all I have for this one. Let me know your thoughts on the patch notes and what you're most excited for Wave 2 in the comments down below. I will lay out those clips of the updated camera angles, so stick around if you want to see those. And I would just say make sure to give them all a chance during the alpha test. Even if you only try like each one out for an hour and then stick to your favorite, make sure to test them all, give your feedback to the team, what you like, don't like, and why your favorite is your favorite. All stuff that they're looking for still and they called out as information they want. So yeah, check out these clips and make sure to give them a fair shot during the Wave 2. I'm gonna get out of here. Have a good one.